This Jan Reberg with a fun way of tuning an E chord, which I'm calling God's chord. And when we tune, especially when we play an E chord, some of you more experienced guitarists have experienced the G sharp always being out of tune, sounds out. The reason it sounds out is there are beats that happen in a major third in what we call a tempered tuning third. And those beats are little fluctuations in the sound of the two notes together. You can really hear beats on an electric guitar if you play half steps or out of tune. You can hear those beats. Any major chord, if we're tuning in our standard tempered tuning, is going to have beats. The reason the E chord sounds particularly out is because of this low E interacting with that G sharp. Then here's why. In each string we have harmonics, or partials, or overtones. And when we play that note, all those harmonics are sounding as part of that note, creating the tone. The strongest harmonic is at the 12th fret. That's an octave. The next strongest is at the 7th fret. That's an octave and a fifth. The third strongest is 2 octaves at the 5th fret. And those are the main ones that we use because they are just octaves and fifths. If you go to the 4th fret, there's a very strong, not as strong as the others, but pretty strong harmonic. And when that harmonic is sounded, it's out of tune with our tempered tuning E, our standard tuning E. And you can hear how they're not the same. This is a G sharp. That's a G sharp. This is quite a bit flat. And you can really hear the beats between those two. So when you play the open E, that harmonic is sounding. It's not real clear, but if you really listen for it, you can hear that note as part of the tone of that 6th string. So when you play that open string, it's conflicting with our G sharp. So every time you play an E, you're going, what's wrong with that G sharp? That's the way it's supposed to sound. It's supposed to have those beats. Now we can get rid of those beats. If you tune, and I would just recommend tuning your guitar to a tuner. Get everything exactly in good standard tempered tuning. Just use a tuner so you know you're right dead on. That G sharp is fighting with God's G sharp. So we're going to tune this G sharp in the E chord down, and we're going to make it match the harmonic G sharp. Now when you strum that E chord, there's no beats. And more than likely you have never heard this chord before. Because if you do standard tempered tuning, which everybody does, because if you're going to play with a piano, if you're going to play with any other instrument, you've got to have that third a little high. Now the great thing about this is we can move this chord around. All the other chords are going to sound out because we've gone out of tempered tuning. If I play a G chord, out of tune. D chord, out of tune. C chord, they're all out of tune. But if I take God's major third in this shape and move it with bar chords, I can play in any key and have a beatless major chord. Which is kind of fun because we're so used to hearing those beats, we don't even know they're there. We just think, well, that's what a major chord sounds like. It's got those beats, oh well. But if you take those beats out and have a beatless major chord, it sounds pretty interesting. So it's a perfect major chord. We say it's perfect because fifths are perfect, octaves are perfect, fourths are perfect, there's no beats. But thirds always have a beat, but not anymore. So we've been using tempered tuning in most of our instruments all the way back to Bach's time. So this is a real interesting way to kind of hear music, see how it affects you. I find it particularly interesting, meditative, relaxing, because you're really hearing a major chord stacked up the way nature stacked it up. Hope you have some fun playing with God's major chord.